When you watch a master stage illusionist, the entire performance really relies on just one fundamental psychological trick.
Right, the misdirection.
Exactly. The magician creates this massive, flashy distraction on one side of the stage, like a burst of smoke or, waving a velvet cape around or a sudden loud noise.
And because you're human, your eyes just snap right to the receptacle. You can't help it.
Yeah, you really can't. And meanwhile, in the magician's other hand, quietly and without any fanfare at all, the actual mechanics of the trick are taking place. The real magic is happening exactly where you aren't looking.
I mean, misdirection is the oldest trick in the book for a reason. We are biologically wired to pay attention to the loudest, most dramatic thing in our field of vision. It takes, well, deliberate effort to look away from the smoke.
And that stage illusion is just the perfect lens for understanding what is happening in the artificial intelligence industry right this very second. So, welcome to today's deep dive.
We're really glad you're here with us.
Today, we are opening up the May 12, 2026 edition of the Tech Reader AI Digest by Aaron Rose. And our mission today is to pierce right through the breathless headlines of basically the biggest tech trial in history so we can help you understand what is actually happening behind the scenes.
Right, because there's so much noise right now.
So much noise. We are going to explore this massive clash of tech titans currently battling it out in an Oakland courtroom. We'll unpack the hidden motivations driving these historic lawsuits. And then, and this is the real magic trick part, look at how the actual tangible future of AI is being quietly built in the background.
While the rest of the world is just entirely distracted by the courtroom drama.
Exactly.
And this specific digest, it captures a highly unique split-screen moment in tech history. On one side, you have this backward-looking legal battle over the origins of artificial general intelligence. But on the other side, you have the silent, relentless deployment of just unprecedented computing power by the people who have simply, walked out of that courtroom and gone back to work.
Let's start with the waving cape, though. The scene Aaron Rose sets for Tuesday's proceedings in that Oakland courtroom is incredibly tense.
Oh, absolutely.
Like 3 weeks of grueling trial testimony have been building up to Sam Altman finally taking the witness stand. And he walks in wearing a blue suit and tie. Initially, he's described as speaking very quietly. He's taking these incredibly long pauses.
Well, you can tell he is acutely aware of the cross-examination that is waiting for him.
Right. But eventually, though, he does find his footing.
He does. And when he does, he lays out his core defense of OpenAI's structure. He essentially frames the narrative of the company's evolution around survival.
Survival.
Yeah, he acknowledges that they had to use, in his words, creative ways to keep it going. And that meant taking outside investment and spinning up that highly controversial for-profit arm.
Right, which is the whole crux of the issue.
Exactly. And his ultimate conclusion on the stand is that the result of those creative structural choices is that OpenAI is now one of the largest charities in history.
Which is such a wild framing.
Yeah.
And that framing directly collides with Elon Musk's entire premise for the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And Musk is alleging that Altman and other executives essentially stole from a charity.
And Altman on the stand says he can't even wrap his head around that framing.
Yeah, he testifies that Musk actually tried to kill the company. He points out that Musk launched a direct competitor, tried to poach OpenAI's top talent, and, engaged in business interference.
Though we should note, Judge Gonzalez-Rogers actually struck that specific comment about interference from the official record.
Oh, right, she did. But it just shows how heated the rhetoric has become in that room. Altman went further into the founding dynamics, testifying that the core co-founders fundamentally believed no single person should have unilateral control over AGI.
He stated under oath that Musk was simply not a good fit for the company.
And he brought a very vivid memory to back that up, didn't he?
He really did. He shared what he called a particularly hair-raising moment.
Hair-raising is a good word for it. According to his testimony, the other co-founders sat down with Musk and asked him a pretty blunt question. They were like, what would happen if you had majority control of OpenAI and then you died?
And Musk's alleged response was something like, I haven't thought about it a ton, but maybe control would pass to my children.
Wow. Just pass AGI to his kids.
Right. And Altman testified that when Musk finally left the board in 2018, it was a massive morale boost for employees who were just exhausted by his hardcore approach to management.
But of course, direct examination is only half the story. The atmosphere shifted dramatically during the cross-examination by Musk's attorney, Stephen Mullo.
Oh, yeah. Mullo did not hold back at all.
Not even a little. He pressed Altman on a litany of concerns raised by former associates over the years. We're talking about employees from Altman's early startup Loop, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, and former OpenAI board members like Tasha McCauley and Sue Yoon.
He even brought up that specific New Yorker article.
Yes. The one titled, "Sam Altman May Control Our Future. Can He Be Trusted?" And then Malo just looks right at him and asks the direct question, are you completely trustworthy?
Which is such a loaded question to be asked under oath.
Oh, totally.
And Altman's navigation of that question is highly strategic. He says he doesn't want to speak for other people who have made claims about him. So Malo follows up with, have you misled people with whom you do business?
And Altman responds, I believe I'm an honest and trustworthy business person.
It got so intense that the judge actually had to step in and give the jury context just to cool the room down.
Yeah, a Cornell University expert on AI policy noted to reporters that regarding public perception, this is not looking good for any of them. I mean, reading this digest, it feels like watching a messy, high-stakes band breakup.
Yeah, where everyone is claiming that they wrote the hit song.
Exactly. Except instead of, royalty rights for a pop song, the fate of AGI is on the line.
It is deeply personal, highly emotional, and playing out on the largest possible public stage.
Okay, so I want to play devil's advocate here based on the digest. If 5 different witnesses have already taken the stand under oath, and none of them are Musk allies, and they've painted a highly complex, sometimes critical picture of Altman's leadership style, is Altman's quote, I believe I am an honest and trustworthy business person, just a statement of internal self-belief rather than an actual denial of the facts presented?
Well, Aaron Rose makes exactly that point in his analysis. Looking at the legal strategy impartially, Rose notes that Altman's answer was specifically not a denial of the particular allegations brought up by Malo.
Oh, okay.
It was a subjective statement of his own self-perception. I mean, the trial record shows a founding team trying to build something unprecedented under massive financial pressure inside a governance structure that was practically designed to fracture.
Designed to fracture one.
Yeah, Altman was managing a room full of brilliant competing egos, and the jury has now heard both sides of that very messy reality.
So what does this all actually mean for the legal outcome? Because the headlines you see on social media do not match the actual legal mechanics of what is happening in Oakland.
No, they really don't. The scope of what the jury is deciding is incredibly narrow.
Right. First of all, the jury in this case is merely advisory. Judge Gonzalez-Rogers makes a final call on any remedies. They aren't deciding, who deserves to control AGI.
Right. They are deciding very dry legal questions, like did Altman and Greg Brockman's early emails establish a formal charitable trust?
And if so, was that trust violated when they restructured the board's control? They're also looking at claims of unjust enrichment.
Which we should probably break down what unjust enrichment actually means in this context.
Yeah, please do.
It's a legal concept where one party benefits at another's expense in a way the law deems unfair. So Musk's team is arguing that the OpenAI executives essentially took the billions of dollars and the massive engineering foundation that was funded under a nonprofit open source promise and unjustly transferred that immense value into a closed for-profit machine that benefits them personally.
But a vital detail that often gets buried in this sensational coverage is that a federal judge already dismissed Musk's core fraud claims back on April 26.
Right, before the trial even began in earnest.
Yeah. So the judge threw out those core fraud claims because Musk's legal team failed to prove that Altman made concrete, deceptive promises to secure that early funding.
The ruling essentially stated that expressing highly optimistic open-source startup goals back in 2015 doesn't constitute deliberate fraud just because the business model pivoted years later under financial pressure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and because of that dismissal, the legal analysts cited in the digest largely consider Musk's remaining breach of trust case to be quite weak.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm connecting the dots here for you, the listener. If the underlying legal case is considered weak by analysts, and the most severe fraud claims were thrown out weeks ago, is this entire multi-million-dollar trial essentially just a publicly funded opposition research campaign? I mean, what is the actual strategy here if winning the legal verdict isn't likely?
Well, the digest suggests Musk appears to have dual motives that have nothing to do with winning a verdict.
Okay.
First, the discovery process forces OpenAI to surface internal, potentially embarrassing documents into the public record.
Right, airing dirty laundry.
Exactly. And second, it sows doubt among investors regarding OpenAI's complex for-profit structure, specifically to create turbulence ahead of any potential initial public offering or IPO.
But the financial reality doesn't seem to be matching that strategy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the lawsuit hasn't stopped OpenAI's momentum at all. They
Yeah.
closed a funding round in March at an $852 billion valuation.
That number is just, it's hard to even comprehend.
It really is. Now, there is a $150 billion damages claim floating out there directed at the nonprofit arm, but that doesn't even go to the jury.
No, that goes to the judge in phase 2 if liability is even found.
Right, so the financial engine of OpenAI is seemingly unaffected by the courtroom optics.
And Aaron Rose's most profound takeaway from this entire segment is that the verdict itself is an illusion. The real output of this trial is the historical record.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, whatever Judge Gonzalez-Rogers decides, the sworn testimony of key figures like Ilya Sutskever, Mira Murati, Dosh McCauley, Greg Brockman, Satya Nadella, and Sam Altman, it is all now a permanent public document.
Right.
Every future board member, every investor evaluating that massive valuation, and every future historian trying to understand the dawn of the AI era will read these transcripts.
Yeah.
That permanent record is the true product of this trial.
Wow. So we are watching the primary source documents for future history textbooks being drafted in real time. But while everyone is obsessing over those history books, there are people out there actively writing the future. And Mira Murati and her new company, Thinking Machines Lab, are the prime example.
The irony of this is just incredible.
It really is. Mira Murati actually testified in week 2 of this very trial, and then she gets off the witness stand, leaves the Oakland courthouse, and goes straight back to work to sign a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure deal with Google Cloud.
I mean, she testified about the past and then walked out the door to buy the future.
Truly. And the hardware tells the story of her ambition here. This Google Cloud deal gives Thinking Machines access to NVIDIA's latest GB Blender chips,
which offer a 2 times improvement in training and serving speed compared to the prior generation.
twice as fast. That is massive. And that combines with a massive partnership they struck with NVIDIA back in March. Right?
Under that agreement, Thinking Machines is deploying at least 1 gigawatt of NVIDIA's Vera Rubin systems to train their models.
A gigawatt.
A literal gigawatt. We should contextualize the Vera Rubin systems, actually, because this isn't just a routine hardware upgrade.
Yeah.
No. Vera Rubin is NVIDIA's next-generation architecture to process massive AI datasets far more efficiently than the current Hopper chips everyone is fighting over.
So it's a huge leap forward.
A massive leap. Securing 1 gigawatt of that specific architecture proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Thinking Machines is operating on the exact same frontier tier as Anthropic and OpenAI. I mean, this is heavy industry deployment.
But achieving this scale has come with severe internal turbulence, hasn't it? I mean, they founded the company in February 2025 and raised a $2 billion seed round at a $12 billion valuation.
Which is unheard of.
Completely unheard of. A seed round is supposed to be the very first earliest stage of venture funding just to get a company off the ground and prove a concept. Raising $2 billion at a $12 billion valuation just to prove a concept breaks every traditional rule of Silicon Valley finance.
Absolutely shatters them.
Yet despite that massive war chest, they've had serious executive churn. In January 2026, their co-founder and CTO Barrett Zoff departed, and the Digest notes the split was not amicable.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Right. Zoff and another co-founder, Luke Metz, actually went back to OpenAI, and then they lost another co-founder, Andrew Tullock, who left for Meta. Now Salmis Chintala has stepped in as the new CTO.
That is a staggering amount of executive flight for a company that is barely a year old.
It really is. It feels like watching two generals argue over an old, dusty map in a tent. You know, that's Musk and Altman in court. While a third general, Murati, is quietly building an unbeatable armada right outside.
I love that analogy.
But I have to push you on this, though, because those co-founder departures are glaring. With that massive level of turnover happening at the very top, at the very beginning of the company's life, is securing literal gigawatts of compute enough to keep a fragile new startup from collapsing under its own weight. Like, can hardware solve a human capital crisis?
Yeah, it's a great question. And Aaron Rose contrasts Thinking Machines with another highly funded startup, Safe Superintelligence, or SSI.
Right.
SSI raised $3 billion and, to date, has shipped absolutely nothing. By contrast, despite the co-founder drama, Murati's team shipped a product called Tinker in just 8 months.
Okay, so they're actually putting things out there.
Huh.
Tinker is an API for fine-tuning language models, right?
Yes. And an API is essentially a standardized digital bridge. It allows outside developers to plug their own software directly into Thinking Machine's infrastructure.
Okay, so what does the fine-tuning part mean for those developers?
Well, fine-tuning means those developers can securely upload their own specialized data through that bridge to train and customize the AI for their specific needs, rather than just relying on a generic model.
Oh, that's incredibly useful.
It is.
Yeah.
And shipping that kind of infrastructure is incredibly difficult. The compute is real, the product is live. Hardware cannot fix a broken culture, sure, but shipping a working product creates a gravitational pull.
Ah, so it attracts talent.
Exactly. It attracts new talent, like Samith Chintala, to replace those who left. Marathi is proving that execution can sometimes outpace internal friction.
So while Marathi focuses on massive hardware infrastructure, the software itself is evolving right in front of our eyes. Anthropic just launched something called Agent View for Claude Code as a research preview.
Right, and this is a big deal.
It is. It's described as a single command-line dashboard for managing parallel coding sessions, run via Claude agents directly from the terminal.
And the underlying shift here in how humans and AI interact is profound.
How so?
Well, for the last few years, the dominant paradigm has been chat. You type a prompt, the AI types a response. It is a one-to-one conversation. But Anthropic is taking a massive step toward using AI as an agent operations layer.
An agent operations layer. Okay, so if we are shifting from chatting with an AI to managing a team of AI employees from a dashboard, where you dispatch multiple autonomous agents to handle different complex tasks in parallel, how does that actually change the day-to-day life of a developer?
It changes them from a coder into a manager.
A manager, really?
Yeah. Instead of writing the function themselves, the developer defines the architecture, assigns the agents to build the various components, and then monitors the dashboard as the agents execute the tasks simultaneously.
Wait, if the AI is doing parallel coding in the background, how does the human developer even know if the code is good? Aren't they just flying blind while the agents write, thousands of lines of code?
That is the exact challenge of the agent operations layer. The developer's job shifts from syntax to review and oversight.
Okay.
The dashboard allows the developer to set parameters, establish testing protocols, and review the output of each agent before it merges into the main project.
It requires a completely different skill set then.
Absolutely. You are no longer laying the bricks. You are inspecting the structural integrity of the wall the agents just built. It is a massive multiplier on human productivity. And it is happening quietly right from the terminal screen without any dramatic press conferences.
Wow. So as we synthesize this deep dive for you, the listener, the narrative of the AI industry right now is profoundly split.
It really is a split screen.
On one side of the screen, you have the loud, messy, highly emotional litigation over who gets to control the legacy of the very first AGI labs. Its egos, billions of dollars, and courtroom theatrics.
And on the other side of the screen, you have the quiet, relentless deployment of gigawatts of power, the securing of next-generation hardware, and the launch of autonomous agent dashboards by builders who have just tuned out the noise to create the future.
So the takeaway for you is that while the mainstream media focuses on the courtroom drama, your attention and mental energy are vastly better spent on the tangible infrastructure and the agent tools actually hitting the market today. That is where the real paradigm shift is happening.
Because knowledge is most valuable when you know where to apply it. Applying it to the tools of tomorrow will yield far greater returns than analyzing the grievances of yesterday.
Which leaves us with one final lingering thought to mull over. Well, if this current trial in Oakland is unearthing all the chaotic secret emails, the boardroom maneuvers, and the high-pressure decisions from OpenAI's early days, what kinds of decisions are being made right now, today, behind closed doors at places like Thinking Machines?
Oh, that's a great point.
Right. Like what emails are being sent right this second that will be the subject of a massive historical trial 10 years from now? Keep your eyes on the builders.
Always watch the builders.
Remember that magic show we talked about at the beginning? The trial in Oakland is the burst of smoke. It is designed to capture your attention. The actual magic that is going to change the world is happening quietly, on the other hand, in the server farms and the terminal dashboards.
Don't let the spectacle distract you from the actual illusion being built.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.